Comm Chronicles, and today I have two wonderful hosts with me, and we'll be discussing a interesting topic. And so how is everyone today? How are you, Hussam?
I'm doing pretty well. I woke up really sweaty for some reason, and I had to go back after class just to shower, which is really weird. And I feel weird. Uh,
You should definitely
TMI.
extremely TMI. You should get that checked out. There's a clinic next to uni right now.
Noted.
So how are you doing today, Safi?
I'm good.
All right, so let's zone in, guys. So today the topic is gonna be about friendships. So, honestly, I'm someone who's ambiverted, but I'm a bit on the extroverted side. I love meeting people. I love talking to strangers. It's just something that I find fascinating, and something that, because it's fascinating and interesting to me, it's very easy for me to kind of make friends, talk to people, and it's just something that is, for me, is interesting and easy for me to do. But I know for a fact that some people like yourself, Safi, for the listeners, me and Safi are very close friends. I would even categorize us as besties.
Besties.
So she's someone that when I first met her, I had to approach her, which I didn't mind, but she's a very introverted, very shy kind of person. So obviously our approaches to friendship and how we approach people is different. So just share your experience about that, Safi.
I would say that being an introvert does not help in making friends, especially in college. I feel like it's kind of like, it sets you back a little bit because you need to put in that extra effort. But if you're an introvert, the struggle is, it's already hard to make friends in general in life, but being an introvert kind of makes it even harder. So personally, I feel like making new friends is the hardest part, but once I get comfortable, it's a lot easier. But I get too comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think honestly that it's not just about like being introvert or an extrovert. I think it's also the fact that all three of us were international students, right?
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a cultural shock when you come to an Asian society, contrasting to where we've come from, which is the Middle East, and especially in expat-based societies where everyone mixes with everyone. It's a bit different here, right?
I agree. I think definitely your cultural background will affect your dynamic and how you approach people. I totally agree. I think some cultures are more introverted than others. I feel like here it's a bit more more introverted compared to, for example, I don't know if you guys know, so Safi and I and Hussam, we all grew up in the Middle East. So I grew up in Oman, Safi grew up in Qatar, and Hussam, you grew up in
I grew up in Kuwait, but I've also lived in Qatar and Egypt.
Yeah, so we have a very different experience because being an expat in a Middle Eastern country, you automatically, as Hussam said, we just interact with people from different cultures, different background. It's almost like we're forced. It's not like an option for us. Like, we have to mingle. Which I'm very grateful for, because it really teaches you to be accommodating to people of different cultures. Do you feel like it's something that you agree to?
You guys forgot to say where we're from, right?
Oh. Oh, guys, sorry. So, I'm from Sudan.
I'm from Tanzania.
And I'm from Egypt.
Yes.
Yes.
So, we're all Africans. So, yeah, we forgot to mention that. Sorry, guys. All right. So, you mentioned that you had a cultural shock. So what made you say that, and what made you think that you can accommodate to the culture here?
So in our culture, right? So before I came to Malaysia, I was in Egypt for about 5 years. And being where I spent my high school years, that's where I learned how to socialize most, right? So in Egypt, you don't really get to go out of your way to know people. People come to you.
Yeah.
So you enter a classroom and people they will draw you in. You don't have to try to make friends. It's like people will accommodate you.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came here, it was like you actually have to try to talk to people, and that was for me a very interesting experience because I've never been in a situation where I have to go to talk to people. And I spent the first year here just trying to understand the idea that just because people don't talk to you doesn't mean they don't want to. It's just that people here don't include you by default. You have to get yourself included. So it's a bit different than our culture, because in our culture, if I go up to someone and I see people chilling and I go talk to them, right, it's a bit weird. It's considered like you're barging in on their conversation, right? But then here, that's how you make friends. So it's like, oh, okay, like what do I do now?
Yeah, I agree with you. Especially, I feel like being an international student kind of means that you have to put in that extra effort as compared to the locals, I would say. Just because sometimes I feel like I'm being avoided just a little bit, but then, especially like the first week when I came, I feel like nobody would like approach me. They'd kind of give me a little bit of a side eye. But then these days, the uni I feel like has gotten more diverse, so I'm not so,
Oh.
unique anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
um, interesting. So I think what Safi is referring to, I think, as you guys said, I feel like we come from a culture that's very extroverted and a culture that is very accommodating to other people. It's almost part of. It's so strange. I know Hussam can relate to this. Like coming from an Arab background or an African background, it's in our culture to be social. It's in our culture to approach people and be very hosting and very like just accommodating to people. So I want to talk specifically about since you said, Safi, that you're introvert and stuff. So do you feel like you should be the one? How do you feel like you want to approach people, knowing that you're an introvert and you're in a culture that is already introverted? How do you think you can build that friendship?
I don't know. I mean, I ask myself that every day as well. But I feel like maybe it's not right for me to expect people to approach me. That's somewhat entitled. But I mean, I would hope that people would, be kind enough to, not just me, but like, because I know the struggle of being an introvert, maybe having a little bit of social anxiety. So, I mean, it would be nice to experience that welcome energy from, other people. But I know that I also have to put in that same energy, and I have to put in that same effort. I can't just expect people to come to me. So yeah, but
So okay, so I wanted to ask you guys. So obviously, we're all adults. We've gone through so many phases. We've been to high school, middle school, and now we're in uni. And we obviously experience different friend groups. So I wanted to ask you guys, how do you deal with disagreement with friends, or how do you approach conflict? And have you had any friendship breakups?
I think that it really depends on the age of the friends that you deal with, right? What I've noticed is that people my age, right, 22 and above, it's quite simple. It's you just talk to each other. The moment you feel like not there's conflict, but there's disagreement, even you just talk it out. But with 19, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, it's a bit different, right? So with younger people, I would say it's a bit more volatile in sense, especially like in I know this might be controversial, right? But especially with guys, it's a bit different than it is with girls, right? With guys, we communicate. With girls, sometimes depending on the situation, depending on the friend group, right? Sometimes you find out that there's a conflict after the fact. So I think that it really depends on the friends group.
So I feel like I disagree with the age thing. I feel like people have different maturity levels and things. So Safi, have you experienced any friendship breakups, or how do you feel like conflicts affect your friendship and stuff like that?
hell yeah, I have. And I feel like you said, it comes from maturity, and not only, I feel like EQ plays a big part, because people need to be aware of themselves. They need to be self-aware of, the things that they lack, and maybe on areas that they need to work on. But oftentimes, I feel like we maybe place expectations on people, and we don't meet those expectations. But when people don't, when people don't give us what we expect, we become angry, but to forget. Okay, I feel like people sometimes, their lack of accountability can cause a lot of problems in relationships, because they tend to kind of, if because people, yes, you're friends, but at the same time, I feel like you have to be considerate of people. I think people say that, friends don't have boundaries as much as acquaintances do, but I feel like that's not necessarily true, because we all have boundaries. Whether it's your mom, whether it's your dad, you need to understand that people have boundaries and people have respect. But once you become comfortable, we forget that, and oftentimes we cross that line. So you just need to be aware of where you know when you're crossing someone and where your weaknesses lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to be.
Okay,
agree
so
with
so to wrap this up, I want to help our listeners for the introverted people, for the shy people. Safi, obviously, you will be the spokesperson for the introverted community. But I know for me and Hussam, we're in the middle or more extroverted, so it's easier for us to approach people. So, what advice would you give someone who's introverted and want to create friends, but they're so just scared or worried?
Just cling to that one extrovert. They'll figure it out. No, I'm just kidding. But I feel like it does become easier once you find your circle. Then from then on, I feel like life just becomes easier. Just adopt me, please. Adopt the introverts. I beg.
I agree. So to all the extroverts there, if you see an introverted person, just go adopt them. They need
Yes.
that. That's the
We need that.
advice.
We can start an adoption drive for introverts.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be great. So yeah, just thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Hussam and Safi, for giving your opinions on this topic. If you guys have any opinions or just want to share your thoughts or have any further questions, let us know. All right. Thank you guys for listening.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks.